ing the aqueduct tunnel he swore was offline. The calendar square arrived at 6:03 p.m., neat as a flow rate chart. Water Trust Gala, meridian intake late. 2 minutes later, Eli texted, "Don't wait up. Utilities asked me to peek at a valve chatter in the south tunnel after speeches. Proud of me." Read he spends the heart when the rest of the sentence is applying for diplomatic immunity. I turned the beans down to the kind of simmer that calls itself maturity and looked across the river toward the intake facility. At dusk, the big concrete mouth and its glass control room glowed like a municipal cathedral that finally learned about lighting design. The square on my phone pulsed once and then behaved. I rinsed an already clean spoon because sometimes unnecessary is the only honest verb available. At 6:25, my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize and a message that recognized me anyway. If the gala's in the atrium, why did he just badge the south gallery and take the maintenance ladder toward the tunnel? Gate F by the service lot. Reader hates witnesses, cover it and lean. I can stall sweep 2 minutes. Signed with a single letter, T, as if the alphabet had leaned against a sluice gate and promised not to squeal. Tomas runs nights out here with the calm of someone who persuades water to keep its temper. He and Eli trade competence in a dialect of pressure spikes and donor moods. He and I have shared 2 cigarettes by a humming transformer that pretends it's a lullaby. Once we laughed hard enough a dome camera tried to learn timing. We have not touched. I remember not touching more clearly than most men remember vows. "Why tell me?" I wrote. "Because your calendar is polite and my badge logs aren't," he sent back. Because he looked up before he swiped. People only look up there when they want oxygen. Because offline is keep out the way champagne is hydration. The service lot held its puddles like low mirrors. Gate F's red eye forgave my palm grudgingly. The latch decided it still believed in due process. Inside, the ladder wore flacking paint and the smell of honesty. The air cooled as I descended to a corridor with epoxy floors and line drawings of a city's throat on the walls. A low thrum pressed through concrete. This place always sounds like a big animal breathing through its mouth. The south tunnel is a cylinder with better manners. Lights hang every 10 yards like apologies. The pipe runs the length of it, steel painted a color that says it has a pension. Condensation slicks the handrail so it can feel included. Near an inspection hatch, jacket off and shirt open, one button past credible, tie rolled into his pocket like a plausible denial, stood Eli. Opposite him leaned Casper Lynn, developer, board vice chair, a roomer with a penthouse greenhouse and a capacity for smiling at cameras like they're his. Casper's 2 fingers rested on the handrail as if water owed him interest. His other hand hovered near Eli's wrist without landing, because proximity photographs better than contact when your brand buys purity and invoices discretion. "Offline looks damp," I said. Eli turned. For a beat, truth used his face like glass before it reflects. Then the public version returned with posture and lighting it doesn't deserve. "Rowan," he said. How did?" "Tomas likes nouns," I said. "I like doors." Casper's smile had been coached to pronounce stewardship in 5 languages. "We were reviewing harmonics," he said. "Patrons enjoy believing the city's throat is in tune." "I prefer tuning that doesn't need an audience," I said. Eli took 1 step toward me and let the wet floor keep the second. "We were listening for chatter in the butterfly valve," he said. He wanted to hear the pipe without speeches. "Sound is persuasive," Casper said, opening both hands like tasteful parentheses. 2 minutes. The sweep is punctual, my driver is a poet." He drifted along the tunnel as if the pipe might autograph him. As he passed, 2 fingers tapped Eli's shoulder, punctuation, not possession. A drip from the ceiling discovered my collar and asked to be remembered. Eli watched me the way men watch weather when they hope thunder is only rehearsal. "I was going to text you," he said, lower now, using the register he keeps for mornings and the soft under my jaw. "After. I wanted to know I could leave this room without letting it name me." "You wanted to be caught," I said. "Not punished, caught." He breathed out. Somewhere a gauge needle thought about moving and reconsidered. "Yes." There is a humidity at which grammar resigns. I closed the small distance and put my mouth on his because steel deserves honesty and running water demands a witness. He kissed back with the relief of a man who has been paying interest on restraint, compounded nightly by applause and municipal lights. He tasted like Gala bourbon cooled by clean air and a faint mineral edge. My thumb found the hinge of his jaw and pressed. He made the small, involuntary sound I keep receipts for. His palm slid under my shirt and settled flat between my shoulder blades like a promise that refuses notarization. We didn't undress. The tunnel charges extra and cameras learn quickly. He broke the kiss first because he knows the exact second heat applies for narrative. He put his forehead to mine. The pipe gave a polite tremor as if the city had coughed. "I didn't kiss him," he said. "I wanted to want to. I texted Tomas." "You did," I said. "He prefers oxygen to salvage." Farther down, Casper tilted his head with the tidy curiosity of a man who assumes infrastructure performs to flatter him. He didn't approach. The lights pretended to mind their own business. "Come home," Eli said. "After I thank the person who listens to water," I said. Tomas waited where the tunnel widened before the ladder, lanyard looped over 2 fingers, calm in the key that persuades valves to be gentle. He didn't smile. He also didn't make mercy expensive. "Sweep hits South Tunnel in 90, he said. "If you don't want to rehearse your full names for a flashlight, follow the bypass culvert to the meter room, cut through chlorination, then up the chemical stairs. The yard cam believes every tote is a tote." "You sent the message," I said. "I opened a door," he said. "You two remembered how to walk." The bypass culvert smelled like stubborn decisions and 5 decades of wet. The meter room watched us with unblinking dials. Chlorination tasted like a scold. We climbed the chemical stairs into air that had learned to be kind. The yard gave us to night, and night did not object. We took sidewalks over lobbies because lobbies invent captions. At home, the beans forgave me for confusing patience with character. We ate standing, like mammals who know where the bowls live. He told me Casper had been sculpting a compliment into a proposition for a month, and he had helped because selection feels like love when usefulness empties your pockets. I told him Tomas had texted because some men choose air over alibi. He didn't ask whether Tomas and I had ever been a worse idea. I didn't say how the glow from a control panel turns Tomas's mouth into punctuation that finally understands itself. We didn't fight. There wasn't theater left to sell. Later, in bed, we left a sliver of cool like a reservation and then let it surrender because the night had already billed us for restraint. He kissed me with the steadiness I trust more than policy. I put my mouth where his jaw goes humble and told it a morning. It was heat without spectacle. The building minded its radiators. Across the river, the intake practiced forgetting names and we encouraged it. Morning behaved. Coffee made its case. Sunlight made tidy rectangles on the table like forms that finally decided to be generous. The calendar square for tonight stayed blank, which in this town is the kink we can afford. Eli tied a tie over a throat I intend to retire with patience and kissed me like the door already knew our names. He left to explain continuity to a breakfast that confuses budgets with physics. At 9:07 a text arrived from a number saved as one letter. No tunnel cams saw anything but pipe. I looped a valve test for 20. Consider it training. I sent, you're very proud of your training. He replied, I'm proud of your exit. No punctuation correct. By noon, a lifestyle site posted Casper in a champagne halo beside a display reading water is a love letter. I scrolled past. It wasn't our room. At 1:21, Eli sent a photo of our kitchen plant basking in a responsible square of sun. Room exists, he wrote. The week pretended to be a maintenance schedule you could trust. Casper sent a revised pledge with fewer adjectives and more commas. Eli read to the part where the commas started to behave like a harness and set it face down. He pressed his forehead to my temple for a quiet 7 count. Air returned to work. 2 nights later, Meridian hosted Night with the River, honest wristbands, real families, kids learning that valves are promises you keep with wrenches. We went together, because sometimes the correct grammar is plural. Tomas nodded once from the control room like an usher who had already chosen a side. Casper shook Eli's hand while a photographer taught stainless steel to glow. A reporter asked about legacy. Eli pointed to a tech kneeling to show a teenager how to seat a gasket without scolding the pipe and said, "Legacy is what keeps rooms gentle." And the reporter wrote it down like she'd earned a truth. On the way home, we cut along the levee where the water rehearses composure. Eli slid 2 fingers into my back pocket in the way that says not mine but here, and the knight did the decent thing and looked away. We burned the toast and ate it anyway. At the bedroom door, he kissed me the way good sentences land, without ornament, unavoidable. I answered as if verbs were the last honest currency. It did not stay tidy. It never does here. An anonymous account posted a grainy still, 2 silhouettes in a wet tunnel, one hand too near to be polite. The caption invented entanglement, the comments rented outrage and billed by the breath. I placed my phone face down beside the plant and watched the plant win. Eli texted a different image. The meter room at noon, Tomas showing a teen volunteer how to bleed air from a line while a pressure graph confessed contentment. Our version works for a living, he wrote. Sunday arrived with rain that had read the manual. Tomas texted, "South is quiet. Want a stool where nobody sells you a seat?" We went. He poured paper cups of coffee that tasted like competence and showed us which gauge lies first, why you never trust a door that apologizes, and the faint change in hum that means a bearing is about to tell the truth. He didn't flirt with anything, not even the truth. He stood with his hands in his jacket pockets and told us a joke about rich men who think head pressure is a metaphor. I liked him better for refusing to be necessary when he didn't need to be. Midweek, the foundation staged a press moment to announce paid apprenticeships for water techs. Eli spoke first, about bolts and volunteers and the joy of maintenance, the only speech that ages correctly. Casper promised to help the city meet its thirst on time, a sentence that managed to spend nothing and still collect applause. After, he shook Eli's hand and then looked at me with the careful respect of a man evaluating whether he cannot purchase. "You're both very good at exits," he said. "Practice," I said. He laughed because it was the only honest thing left on his card. A columnist with an adjective habit suggested Eli's access came courtesy of private tour. The piece included a photo of pipe that could have been any pipe and a paragraph that could have been any rumor. The comments did their choreography. I carried the plant to the sink and let water talk to its roots like a promise we could keep. That night, we turned our phones face down and cooked like people who still believe heat tells the truth. On a windy Thursday, Tomas sent a single word, weather, and we met him by the Baffle Pond where the river argues with concrete. He showed us which great floods first, where to stand when lightning auditions near the intake cranes, and how to hear the soft hesitation that means a motor will miss its cue without kindness. He didn't ask about the photo. We didn't say his name out loud. 3 people wide beneath a sky that pretends to mind its own business. We let the storm remove adjectives we didn't need. Life kept refusing to be purchased. Casper kept sending commas that wanted homes. Eli kept returning them with better ones. The plant kept inventing a shade of green that makes vanity domestic. We kept our calendar squares blank on purpose because blanks are the only promises rooms respect. Sometimes, near midnight, we walk the levee and watch the intake windows glow like a quiet apology. From out here you can't see the wet steps or the small, decent posture of a man who teaches heavy things to be gentle. You can only see a disciplined light pretending it has always belonged to the river. That's as it should be. We circle the block and go home without letting the building perform at us. He takes my wrist like a man reteaching himself the grammar of doors. I think about the South Tunnel and the 2 minutes that were enough, about how some rooms try to own you and others teach you to leave correctly. Sometimes I think about Casper paused by the handrail like a man who wants to buy air and discovering it doesn't invoice. Sometimes I think about Tomas's line, "I opened a door," and how it's the only biography I want for this version of us. Tonight's square is empty. We're leaving it that way. Let the intake keep its speeches and the city its applause. We have the service gate, a plant we refuse to let die, and the quiet grammar of a decision that knows where it belongs. Not in the rumor, not in the photo, but in the mouth that learned to say come home and mean it. If we get caught again, let it be by each other. The rest of the world can rehearse purity. We'll be in the room that doesn't need it, counting breaths until they sound like water settling into kindness, and a morning we can afford, and calling that enough.